Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, publisher of Aspire Magazine, the premier inspirational magazine for women, now in its 11th year. I'm also the best-selling publisher behind the boutique publishing company InspiredLivingPublishing.com, which is dedicated to giving visionary female entrepreneurs, coaches, and health practitioners a voice and a high-profile media and publishing platform to share their wisdom, enhance their expert status, and bring their brand out of the shadows as a published author. And I'm so excited to share that our most recent sacred anthology, Midlife Transformation, Redefining Love, Life, Health, and Success, is an international bestseller, hit multiple hot new release lists, and you can grab a copy at midlifetransformationbook.com. I am so honored that you joined me for today's show. We got a juicy conversation in store for you. And joining me today is family health coach Amanda Hinman. And we're going to be talking about why a mom's quality of self-care affects her entire family. And taking time for self-care is such an important part of honoring your emotional, physical, and spiritual health. And this is especially true for moms. If you often find yourself overwhelmed, frustrated, and feeling guilty, it may be a sign that you're not taking care of yourself. And as you may have already discovered, this can create this ripple of energy that goes throughout your family and can also impact your child's health. That's why I've invited family health coach Amanda Hinman of Hinman Holistic Health Institute to join me to talk about why self-care is the most unselfish thing you can do for yourself and for your family. And she's also going to be sharing some strategies to decrease stress so you can enjoy your most important job, which is raising a vibrant, healthy child. Family health coach, national speaker, and author of Vibrant Child, 7 Steps to Increase Your Child's Health and Happiness, Amanda used to feel frustrated, overwhelmed, and guilty as a mom, so she can really relate. As a mom of 4 amazing daughters, Amanda understands what it is like to feel disappointed and even defeated at times, trying to raise positive, happy, and healthy children. After our oldest daughter's anxiety became so extreme it led to daily seizures, Amanda transformed her family's health by taking control of her own emotional stability. She's created a proven process to transform hundreds of moms from frustrated and overwhelmed to confident and empowered. With the tools and strategies to solve the stress, Amanda allows parents everywhere to start to enjoy their most important job, which is raising a vibrant child. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you, Linda. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, your story is an inspiration because like me and you and so many other moms, we come to that point in our lives where it's like, what am I doing? And when I read your story back when we first met about how your family was in crisis. It was a health crisis with your daughter, as I explained in the intro, having seizures, and as we'll talk about in a moment, your husband having some health issues, and you going, how am I going to do all this? You suddenly woke up one day and realized it all began with you, right? That you had to step into and empower yourself. So let's start there. Tell us briefly about what set this all off for you.
Yeah, well, it's been a beautiful unfolding, and obviously as time goes by and looking back, reflection is always valuable to see. How it started to really change my awareness of what's going on in our family, something needs to shift, is when my oldest daughter was 8 years old, she's seemingly out of the blue started to develop seizures. And before that, I knew that she was a typical, firstborn personality type where she put a lot of pressure on herself to be a good student and to follow all of the expectations of society and of adults, and really just to, quote unquote, do everything right. And I just thought that was something that was part of being a firstborn. That's how I was as the firstborn, and she had a lot of similarities in her early years as I did. And then all of a sudden her anxiety levels increased so dramatically that she ended up having seizures. And it got to the point of where we as a family were so overwhelmed with trying to figure out how best to support her, because there was no conclusive physiological explanation for the cause of her seizures. When we were down in the hospital, all of the testing and all of the EEGs and MRIs, nothing could indicate, here's a tumor in her body or here's something that is causing the seizure. We were told that this is something that can be genetic. And from the very beginning, that never resonated with me. Something deep inside me knew that there's got to be more to the story of why she started having seizures. And it was highlighted by the fact that every time she would be in the hospital and the doctors would come in to check on her, she would have another episode. So I could very clearly see this connection between her stress levels and her anxiety and the trigger of a seizure. And so when we left the hospital thinking like, we were told that maybe she has to be on medication for the rest of her life. This just may be a condition that is genetic and she will always have to manage. From the very beginning, that never sunk in, and I knew there's got to be something else going on. So I really tried to look at all of these different things that we could change and all the things that I could control, changing our diet, changing her activity levels. She was in different sports and activities at the time, to change that up, and still trying to control and manage this process, which was my mode of operation in life. I realize now, looking back, that was a cause of a lot of my personal overwhelm and anxiety, was always trying to be in control of everything. And during the next few months, as her seizures continued to increase, anywhere from 10 to 15 in a day she was having. At one point, she was on 4 different medications. The disconnection between everyone in our family, my husband's anxiety got out of control, and he ended up with massive anxiety attacks as well. And it was just, we were in this pit of uncertainty and fear and didn't know what else to do. And I was trying to control everything, right? Trying to do everything that I possibly can think of, to take her to appointments, to get second opinions, to go to the chiropractor, to go to the therapist, to go to the registered nutritionist. And all of these actions of what I was trying to control just exasperated that sense of overwhelm. And then in this breaking moment, I realized I am exhausted. I have nothing left to give to my little girl. So I have to do something to take care of myself so that I can show up and help support her in a more compelling way. And that gift of that realization of taking the time to really invest in myself. And it started with hiring a coach for me to start to build up my own sense of energy and confidence and clarity. And through that process, through that journey, oh my gosh, it was an amazing ripple effect how when I shifted, almost organically, my daughter started to shift, and she started to feel some clarity and just some sense of empowerment. Really, it's about learning to be self-aware, right? It was my journey through discovering my own pressure that I put on myself and my own expectations and just criticism that was self-directed, that kept me in such a hard place for so long. And I had role modeled that for my family without even realizing that that's what had happened.
What a beautiful place you came to, though. I know it was I could hear the emotion in your voice of, when you go through that moment of saying, you know what, I can't keep giving to the point of exhausting myself. For so many women that are listening right now, the last thing you think that you could do is, who am I to take care of myself when my family is in crisis? But it's actually the opposite. Who are you not to?
Yes.
But you had to hit bottom, Amanda, before you felt it. And now you're so passionate to tell about spreading the message of, ladies, show up fully for your family, and that means taking care of yourself first. It's like the oxygen mask on the plane, right?
It is, and it's such a cliche. We hear it all the time. And yet, exactly like you said, I had to hit rock bottom. I mean, before I could receive that support is really what it comes down to. Now looking back, I realize my pattern was one of being an action taker and being, all in the space of I do and I achieve and I make things happen. So that's what I was trying to do. Even before my daughter had her seizures, I was in the space of trying to make everything happen the right way for my family. Being a busy mom of 4 daughters, being very involved in their lives, whether it be volunteering in the classroom and the gymnastics parent volunteer and all of these different things, I was, quote unquote, doing all of the things that in my mind a great parent does do to provide and to support for their family, without realizing that while all of that was happening, I was bearing my own sense of exhaustion, frustration, and irritation. Candidly, I mean, Linda, it's almost embarrassing to say this, but I look back at myself, and the people that I love the most in my life are the same people that I often was the most impatient towards and the most irritated by. Like my little daughter she's a dream-chasing little girl, and she would make recipes and make concoctions in the kitchen and leave her stuff all over scattered around the kitchen countertops. And I was the one that would have a snappy remark about, put that away and, don't leave a mess. And I just wasn't in the space to show compassion and have patience for anything that derailed my perfectly planned agenda and my clean house, because in my mind I had constructed that is what being a successful parent is.
Ooh, this is so juicy. And Amanda, I have to say something. I love that you're willing to be real and go deep, because you are saying and speaking your truth, and it is what so many women are feeling and afraid of saying. And by you being so open and honest about your feelings and your vulnerabilities as a mom, it gives other women permission to know and stop judging themselves for having the same feelings. And I want to dive into this even more when we come back from our break. And I'll be back in a moment with Amanda Hinman of Hinmans.com.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Inspiration for a woman's soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth Radio is conscious living for your soul. every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Hey, America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America in your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
You're listening to Inspired Conversations. Welcome back. This is your host, Linda Joy, and with me today is Amanda Hinman of Hinman Holistic Health Institute. And Amanda, a moment ago, right before the break, you shared a really intimate truth, right? That you weren't always showing up as your best self in your relationship with your children. As a type A, which so many of us are, we have controlled tendencies, which so many of us do. You realize that was all had become a priority of this perfectly planned life that you had, that you weren't fully present for each child. When you had that awareness, which thank you so much for sharing, because I bet other moms are going, I feel that way too, and I've never been able to say it out loud. So thank you for that. How, when you had that moment, what shifted to help you see that that's what was happening?
It was a process unfolding. It was really this awareness that when are my highest moments? When are the experiences and the instances in my life that I'm feeling joy, that I'm feeling contentment and patience? And I started to realize, well, I was not feeling those moments as often around my family as I would like to. I was, the things around my family dynamic, even with my husband, I would feel oftentimes resentful because he's kind of this carefree, loving person who prioritized his own need for enjoyment in life and would plan weekend golf games. And then I was sitting there thinking, there's no time for this. How can you step away from our family and just have fun for yourself? I would resent that, and I would give him the silent treatment. So it was really this awareness of, wow, a lot of the moments of my happiest experiences were not centered around the way that I was looking at my closest family members, the people that I love and cherish so deeply. So through that journey of something's going to have to shift inside of me so that I can bring to the surface what I love about these people that are so important in my life, right? Because this is all this first the awareness and then the choice of what we are giving our attention to about any other individual person. And I realized the things I was giving my attention to about my daughters and about my husband were the things that frustrated me or irritated me, not the things that I just loved and enjoyed witnessing.
Well, what a powerful awakening, though, for you. It had to have shifted something in your heart, too, of going, I want to show up differently. And that's when true transformation begins. So as you started to show up differently for your husband, for the kids, how did that ripple out to your daughter's health and your husband's health?
Oh, my gosh. Unbelievable. It was just, and it really stemmed from me being happier first. Again, this is why it's not selfish. It's when you can be in that higher place of emotional space just more frequently, then it's we know this, right, Linda? So when things are going well, it's easy to wake up and notice the sunshine and notice the birds chirping and notice there's a friendly neighbor walking down the street and you smile and wave. It's you just see all of the different aspects in your life versus when you wake up late and you're hitting the alarm button and it's raining and you just, running late in traffic. It's like this compounding effect. It's almost like you're in two different worlds based on where your emotional center is. So when I did the work to take care of myself and shift where my emotional set point is, then it just naturally unfolded in ease and communication with my family and deeper connections. I mean, my husband and I had been together since high school. We're high school sweethearts. Yet we had many years in our lives and in our marriage where we were living more as cohabitating parents, just two different ships passing in the night, right?
Yeah.
And when that shifted for me, and I found true enjoyment in my own life with myself, I think, first of all, it attracted him to me in a much deeper way. You know?
Oh, definitely.
And everyone wants to be around somebody who's enjoyable and having fun. And, yeah, it just completely shifted the energy around my daughter. I think she noticed that I softened. A lot of it was my judgment that I used to have on myself and then reflect out to others. Like, you know, I used to be the kind of person that I had to have my house spotless and clean all the time. And if I ever walked into another person's house that wasn't spotless and clean, I would have a judgment about that.
And
because
so
I was
you feel she was picking that up, so then she was afraid of being judged by you because
absolutely.
if things aren't perfect, Mom's going to judge me too. Even though it might not have been conscious, it was something that was a layer under there. Is that what you feel was happening?
Absolutely, yes.
Wow.
On so many different levels. And you're right, it wasn't a conscious, intentional decision that I was making. I wasn't even really
and she
aware
wasn't
of it.
consciously, she was just subconsciously picking it up. I don't think she ever had the thought, oh my goodness, Mom's going to judge me. It was just this energy in the home, which you explained to us, that she was picking up on.
Yes.
Yeah, so there isn't, your intention was never there to do it. It's sometimes we all unconsciously have behaviors that ripple out and affect others. What I'm so, and I will use the word impressed, that's the word. Some people know when something's not right, right? And they go, oh, I know this isn't right, but I'm just going to let it go. It's too much work to change it. You went at this and said, oh, my God, I want to show up better in my life for yourself, but also for the rest of your family. And that's what impresses me, because a lot of people don't want to do the work. The work is hard, isn't it, Amanda, to go deep, to dive in and clear the muck.
Right. You have to look at some not so pretty parts of what's happening and how that is affecting all areas of your life. But I will tell you, Linda, in terms of the ripple effect, it is amazing. Kids are so resilient, and having 4 daughters, it is, oh my gosh, it still like brings me to tears to think about their sense of empowerment and their sense of appreciation for their own self-worth that I can see is cultivating inside of them because they see that I value that for myself.
Yes, and your children are all still so young, right?
Yes.
So this shift that you've made is such a gift to them, because these are 4 young ladies who are going to learn at such a young, beautiful age to say, I need to take care of myself, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And I want to go back to something that you said at the beginning, because I find it funny. I hear this from a lot of women. Do you notice that we as women, we find it tough to take care of ourselves, right? Put ourselves on the top of the to-do list. But most men do not have an issue with this. Your husband was doing healthy things for himself.
Yeah,
right?
He was.
And that's because I've been where you've been, where it's like, what do you mean you're going to play golf? Well, I have groceries, or I have this, and we play that role. But when we look at it from a different angle, from the healthier angle, we're like, oh my God, these men, they put themselves first. They know what they need. They go out and do it. And so I'm giggling now, because I'm sure now you can see the difference.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And I'm like, man, too bad I didn't know that back then, Yes.
And
it is interesting.
How is your daughter's health now?
Oh my gosh, she's fantastic. I mean, in less than a year's time, she went from being anywhere from 10 to 15 seizures in a day and being on 4 different medications to completely seizure-free and off all medications.
Now,
and
what a difference.
Like I said, the ripple effect is I mean, that was so profound in and of itself. And it goes beyond that. My husband, who was, like I said, having these massive anxiety attacks, thinking he was having heart attacks and ending up in the emergency room, ended up completely transforming his health, and he lost over 30 pounds. He's in more empowered place than he's ever been, and we're more deeply connected. And another daughter, and this is the interesting thing, Linda, is I work with many moms who have, different circumstances. Everyone has their physical presentation in a different way, yet it's all relating back to the emotional level. Some kids have allergies, or like one of my daughters had eczema. Her eczema cleared up and was diminished as well as a result of just our family emotional healing journey.
And that says so much, because we've come to learn over the years that our emotional health and, I believe, spiritual health is what leads to the weakening of our physical health.
Yes,
if we're not
absolutely.
emotionally and spiritually happy, healthy, and balanced, your body is going to start to shut down, because I believe we feel things emotionally first. If we don't deal with them, they go deeper into the spiritual level. Like at that soul level, it becomes such a deep wound. And then when we ignore it, it becomes a physical manifestation in our body. And I had to find out the hard way, because I was a slow learner too. So, so that is so important. And I want to talk about, we're about to go to break, but when we come back, Amanda, I want to talk about what led you to dive deep into this work as a family health coach. You're now a national speaker, the author of a book, and you and your husband have the Hinman Holistic Health Institute. I want to talk about the work you're doing there and your mission and message, because it all ties back to this, your own life experience. And we'll be back in a moment. I am Linda Joy, and I'm with Amanda Hinman of Hinman Holistic Health Institute, which you can visit at hinmans.com.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Moms, do you often find yourself overwhelmed, frustrated, and feeling guilty? This can be a sign that you're not taking care of yourself, which creates a ripple of energy throughout your family and can impact your child's health. Amanda Hinman of Hinman Holistic Health Institute knows these feelings all too well. Amanda is a family health coach and the author of Vibrant Child, 7 Steps to Increase Your Child's Health and Happiness, and she's the mother of 4 young girls. When she found her family in the midst of multiple health crises, she began to look at her role in it and took action to empower herself, transform her family's health, and has supported hundreds of moms with her proven process to go from frustrated and overwhelmed to confident and empowered. Take the first step today and claim the Vibrant Child Starter Kit at hinmans.com.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTR-FM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, and with me today is Amanda Hinman of Hinman Holistic Health Institute. So, Amanda, you shared your powerful transformational journey. Is that what fueled and still feels this passion that you have for the work that you do through the Holistic Health Institute and as a family health coach. Is that what led to this mission?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's a kind of a combination of multiple factors, and I always believe, Linda, that sometimes the best things in life are the things that find you rather than you seeking it out, right? I mean, my background is and has been in nutrition and fitness and health for the past 2 decades. So I've spent many, many years working with different organizations and in different roles, everything from group fitness instructor to health coach to, personal trainer and all these different capacities about nutrition and fitness. And again, my interest level in the physical health led me to study over 100 different dietary theories. So it was very natural for me to be in the space of wellness and health, and I have been for a long time. And yet what was so fascinating to me and what really catapulted this passion into a whole nother layer was, again, my family's health transformation process, and particularly what happened with my daughter. Because even prior to that, I had thought I checked all the boxes on being healthy because we were eating very healthy and we were a very active family. So in my mind, prior to that, health included what you eat and how you move your body. And like I said, I had been in that space for over 15 years at that point. So I was like, oh, we're very healthy. And I didn't even have an awareness or an understanding of the impact of the emotional and spiritual components yet. And then through this journey of healing my daughter's seizures and my husband's anxiety and all of and really just the self-awareness of my own emotional well-being and spiritual belief, that catapulted this, wow, there's a whole nother layer here, right? There's so much information. That's great information, and I absolutely encourage people to start with looking at making some nutrition changes and making some activity fits that work for your family. However, to really take it to that next level for lifelong, sustainable, fulfilling living, to live your vibrant life, it includes that emotional and spiritual component as well.
Oh, most definitely. I know it has for me. In fact, I used to say for a long time, I spent many years on my emotional and spiritual development, right? It's like I yearned for those kind of books, those kind of workshops, and I would let the physical fall to the wayside. I'll make time for exercise. Oh, I can still have sugar. And it wasn't until I got hit with a couple cosmic 2x4s that I had to stop being more conscious. And I'll be, I've been very honest with my audience that the physical self-care, I still slide backwards sometimes. Now, the emotional and spiritual, I love the inner work, so I got that one. I love that. But my struggle is with that physical. And some people are the opposite. They'll are like you, right? They've spent years taking care of the physical, but they didn't take care of the emotional, spiritual. Is that what you feel happened for a long time? Like you knew the physical, you fed your body, you nourished it, you used it? Okay.
Yes, the physical has always been a strength, and from a young age, I had been involved in athletics and even through college, and that had always been something that just was a part of my being, and it was adding. It's really the combination of everything, right? Like just like you said, some people it's the reverse. It's the emotional, spiritual side is something that's given a lot of focus and attention, and not as much of the physical side. And it's really this beautiful combination of all things in harmony together is what is most powerful.
Yeah, it's like this whole toolkit, and you need all three pieces, right, to finish the puzzle. And if one of them's missing, like the puzzle, which is your full, bodied health, you can't complete the puzzle. And, I think that's how I had to picture it in my mind, so that I would get back on track.
Yeah, I think that's great. And what's so interesting about, that's why I love the platforms and the experiences that you create, Linda, because in so many areas of our life, especially as we look for children's health, usually it's either the physical health, especially if there's a challenge, let's say, it's either looking at it from a a doctor's perspective or even some other expert's perspective that's looking at it from a very structural or physical or even physiological experience and perspective, or sometimes it's more the realm of mental health and looking at it from the emotional stability side and looking at it from the therapist perspective, right? The piece that I see oftentimes is not present is that spiritual component, that third integrated, necessary piece of the puzzle to have all aspects in harmony. And that's what I think is so unique about what I do through the Hinman Holistic Health Institute and my coaching programs with moms is really just embrace the importance of all of those components.
Yes, because it's not just one. And so, like you and I, like you said, you grew up, all right, you were strong in the physical and slightly weaker in the others. I was stronger in the others and weaker in the physical. But if someone doesn't teach us what you're teaching parents, right, moms right now, that they all have to be in balance, you kind of go through life not knowing that you're out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Until a crisis comes up like it did for your family and like it did for myself. So to have you getting out there and teaching moms to have all three of them balanced within their own self, but also for their family, I think it's such a gift to families.
Yes, and I think like we started, talking about this conversation today is really about it's not selfish to prioritize your well-being as a mom. In fact, I think that's highly spiritual, to really honor and recognize your self-worth and your potential impact when you do take care of yourself. I think that is a spiritual practice.
Oh, it's a powerful spiritual practice because when we're connected to ourselves and show up as at the highest vibration of our authentic self, right, filled with love, joy, happiness, that is what we're bringing to our family. That's what's going into the energy of the relationships in our family.
Yes.
If we don't do that, then the opposite energy is going into our family, and then we all know what that creates.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was living, right, when I was talking about the over-managing and it wasn't, it was from this just space of not understanding my inherent worthiness. I felt that I had to do this or show up in a certain perfect, pretty box in a certain way in order to be worthy.
Yeah, and I remember having a conversation with you, and I think it might be in the book too, where you said, from the outside looking in, I had it all together.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like you were like the ideal mom, business owner, 4 kids, involved with all these things, but inside you didn't feel those things.
That's what I always say. I appears to have it all together, Amanda, right? And especially, we touched upon my background in the physical health aspect. From a physical, just looking at the exterior, that is like, oh, wow, she's physically fit, yes, and she's a mom, and she's got, this and this, check all the boxes. I was very good at checking the boxes on the outside without realizing, well, wait, what's on the inside, and what's that inner worthiness component? And that's what ultimately led to my own low feelings of frustration and judgment and all of that negativity.
And this is, I know you had to go through your dark night of the soul, but I also believe that we all go through those dark nights of the soul because we're meant to be messengers. And I'll tell you, Amanda, you found your message. And I know it was based on, going through this painful journey, but imagine the lives that are going to be changed now where the whole structure and energy of a family can be shifted by how well the mom shows up for herself. Right? It's no more trying to fix the husband, no more trying to fix the children, right? No more trying to be the perfect mom. It's like, I think I'm going to focus on me, and look what happened when you did.
And it's really it's the beautiful thing about it, Linda, is it feels so good to do that. Because in so many ways before, I felt like I was pushing against the grain. I mean, before everything happened, I remember being the one trying to, really dictate and control my kids, not eating too much sugar because, again, coming from a nutrition background, I was very aware of what healthy eating was, right? And I felt like oftentimes I ended up playing the bad cop in our family, or even with relations with my husband. I ended up being the one that's like, no, we have to do this and we have to do this, because again, I was living into some other expectation. Now, it's amazing how taking care of yourself, not saying you let everything just slide by and go by the wayside, however, you can be in this space of enjoying the choices that are truly of highest priority for you and for your family. And it naturally, I don't know, it's like this, it's just a natural grace that eases everything, especially because I think it gives you that space to be patient and to really hear and to truly connect with the people that you love the most dearly, so they're more able to have an honest, open dialogue back and forth.
Have your friendships shifted too, where people go, wow, Amanda, you're so different, like energetically different?
Yes, it's interesting because I've had many new friendships and doorways open up, and other friendships that, I think some people are just kind of curious and asking questions, and they're like, something, you seem different, and there's a lot of conversations that start out of that curiosity, because I think people can just sense it and feel it.
Oh, they can, and for me, you have this joy about you, and I didn't know you in the other energy, so I just know this vibe that I'm attracted to now, this joyful energy, this passion, and I feel it. So that's why I asked that question, because sometimes as we shift and transform, our relationships do too. And I want to talk about that more when we come back from our last break. And this is Linda Joy. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. With me today is Amanda Hinman of Hinman Holistic Health Institute. And we're talking about why self-care is the least unselfish thing you can do if you're a mom. And you can learn more at hinmans.com, and we'll be back in a moment.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Are you an empath? Have you been called highly sensitive, empathic, or intuitive? You, my friend, may be a highly sensitive badass. It's time to embrace this as a gift so you can unlock your sensitive superpowers, nourish your mind, body, and spirit, and show up as your greatest and most badass sensitive self. If you're a healer, lightworker, coach, or caregiver feeling overwhelmed by your sacred gifts, Courtney Chait, writer, speaker, and mentor for highly sensitive badasses, can show you how to tap into your feminine brilliance through divine self-care so you can live your highest purpose and reach your full potential. Visit highlysensitiveBadass.com to learn more about.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Healing Light, on OMTimes Radio every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Healing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
Hey, America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America in your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm Linda Joy, and with me is Amanda Hinman, and we're going to continue that conversation. Amanda, we were talking about did you feel other relationships in your life shift as you released the drama and that energy you were in and stepped into this more joyful energy, the energy that I know you as, right? This joyful, passion-filled person. Did you feel relationships drop away that were connected more with that other energy, and then new ones come in that were closer to this energy that you are now?
I did, and I definitely have noticed some changes in friendships, and to be honest, Linda, one of the changes that was really challenging for me for a while is the shift in relationships with people in my family, like extended family.
Yeah.
And I think it has to do with what you're saying about when energetically you're showing up in a different place. People aren't used to seeing it that way, right? I was kind of a pattern of where I normally was with, whether it be parents or siblings and things like that. And that was difficult. I'm going to be completely honest. There were moments where I felt more of a disconnect because we weren't relating to each other in the way that we used to previously. And through some time and through some just reflection and some space, I've really been able to be in the space that although we may not have a relationship in the same way or in the same capacity that we once had previously, it really is when I put my focus on the things that I enjoy about each individual person, then even if we do interact on a less frequent basis, the time that we're together is still pleasant and enjoyable for both of us. Yet there was some growing pains through that, like even with my mom, I used to talk to her almost every day, and it got to a point of where my focus was on different things, on the things that were going well and on the things that I was excited about and joyful about in my life, as opposed to the complaints and the things that were irritating me. And that's what the conversations at one point had been centered around for a long time. And once that wasn't my focus anymore, that shifted what we could talk about, So there definitely was moments of, wow, trying to figure out what this new dynamic looks like. And I think that's all, like you said, doing some of the work isn't always easy because there are shifts and there are changes that come along the road. And it's really learning what fits best for where I want to live my life.
Exactly. And you described it so beautifully. And think of it this way. This is what I tell a lot of my clients who have shifted and transformed, because that's what I love to help them with, is don't look at what you had with someone, whether it's, your mom or anyone else. And this is for, I'm not speaking just directly to you, I'm speaking to the audience. Don't label it, right? Don't call it different. Don't call it anything, because when we label it, we kind of trying to control what it looks like. Just keep showing up at your vibration. And two things will happen. Those conversations, they will either rise to come up to your vibration or they won't. But you never want to lower your vibration to meet someone where they are, because from a spiritual perspective, you're not being of service. Right? So just be, and I used to know, those drama conversations, we've all had them. You can get caught up in that stuff, in that habit. And you know how you feel after one of those conversations. It's not a fun feeling. So by consciously, I know it's hard for you, as it has been for me and many others on this path. Remember that in every conversation, when you don't go low and you stay high, and I'm talking about vibration, they will come up to meet you. It might take time, and maybe it might not be in this lifetime, right? Because they have their path to walk. But I no longer judge it, because I used to judge it going, well, it's different, and now we don't talk the same. And then I realized that's okay. It's okay. And I had to come to that place. And once I came to it, I am very different from the rest of my family. So everything you went through, you just explained, Amanda, I went through. I remember it 10, 15 years ago. They're like, what the hell is happening to Linda? And I'm like, why would you ask me that? I used to say to them, why are you asking me that? I'm joyful. I'm happy. I'm so open. I'm free. Like this vibe. And they're like, well, we want the one that used to bitch, complain, moan, and
Yeah.
and self-sabotage. We know how to deal with that one. And I'm like, oh, she's gone.
Yeah.
She's gone. And now they tease me with love, but I am different, and that's okay.
Mhm.
Right?
Well, and a big part of my process too was, always being under I always was somebody who was an overachiever in large part due to receiving my dad's approval. And this last summer, I made a decision to travel to Brazil for a spiritual retreat, which was an amazing experience. And I knew inside that it was something I was being called to do. And yet, when my dad found out about that, he just could not fathom how and why I would choose to make a decision like that when he was thinking it was a dangerous place to travel to and what is going to come of this. And it was a huge moment for me to stand in my power and to hear his fear and to honor that and still decide that I can understand that you're nervous and I can understand that you're worried about me, and I love that you want to be a protector, and I know that this is the right thing for me to do and to go anyway. And that was a huge thing for me, Linda.
Yes, I can feel it. I can feel the energy of a woman standing in her power, and you were no longer the little girl needing his approval. It was you took it all in, but you no longer needed his approval. So you could feel how you stepped into the full woman.
Yes.
And that's the gift you're now going to give these girls, your 4 beautiful daughters.
Yes, and I love to hear my girls talk about how we talk about this often. Every day we do positive focus and reflect and talk about what we are creating for ourselves. And my girls talk about how they manifested, my one daughter manifested an opportunity to go to Harry Potter camp this summer that she is so excited about. And my other daughter, we're actually going to a celebration later tonight. She entered a law day competition, and she's like, I really, really want to win. And she focused on it, and she did some visualization, and she really was intentional, and she ended up winning. And she even said, she's like, Mom, I feel like I know I'm going to manifest this. So I love just that sense of my girls having a feeling of empowerment, where they put their focus and where they put their energy. And with patience, we talk about the importance of perfect timing, and things line up, maybe not when we want them to, but when it's going to be the right time for everything. And they're learning these things now at such a young age that I didn't even learn until a few years ago.
Yeah, and what's beautiful is you're giving them the power to say the power is within you, not outside of yourself.
Yes.
And that is a powerful, powerful gift that you're giving them. We have a couple minutes left. I want to invite everyone to be sure that you visit Hinman Holistic Health Institute and claim the free gift that's on the page, which is the Vibrant Child Starter Kit. And you can do that at hinmans.com. But while you're there, dive into the content. Learn more about Amanda's programs and services. You are not alone on this path, Mom, right? So for all the moms listening, get the support that you need, because if you are feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, or feeling guilty of any of what Amanda shared about how her life looked before, if that's where you feel like you are, do not do this alone, right? You don't need to. So, Amanda, I want to thank you for one, because I've been watching your journey, since we met. And you are really unfolding at this rapid rate. And for you to show up here today and really share your truth as a woman, as a mom, it takes so much courage and vulnerability. And I know you're doing it because you know that there are other moms out there feeling how you used to feel. And I'm going to cry. In that you want to be of service to say you don't have to live that way anymore. There is another way.
Yes, absolutely. And it's the best gift you can do for yourself and for your family is to have that support and have that opportunity to step into a more vibrant life.
And again, everyone, that's hinmans.com. Amanda, thank you again for being here.
Yes, thank you, Linda. This has been fun.
Oh, I love it, and I can't wait to get this message out. And I want to thank everyone for joining us for Inspired Conversations. I invite you to listen in every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern for more conversations with heart-centered visionary women like Amanda, who are here to share their wisdom and support you in living your best life. For even more inspiration, claim your free subscription to Aspire magazine, which includes over 40 transformational gifts. You can grab that at subscribe2aspire.com. Until next time, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness. Blessings, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.